little break because it starts to hurt your hands, which it will. And last time I made a table just like this, my arms were numb for about a day. Take a break. Be safe, take a break, know your limits. Yeah, be safe. If you want it to be on more of a slant, let the saw get there. Just kind of put a little bit more pressure on. Don't try to do anything in an instant. If you want it to be a really sharp edge, you know, gradually come to that point, cut straight in, and then work from there. So both the sides are cut out, and I'm just gonna sand them now. So we've got nice 40 grit on the orbital sander. That's what I used last time. I went through like 3 of them to do it. You could use an angle grinder. That would be my other option if I run out of this sandpaper. Just kind of make it smooth. Again, just follow, you know, the pattern, because you don't want to get rid of that. Smooth it out best as you can, and try to get rid of those marks that came from the foot of the Sawzall. Reciprocating saw, if that's what you use. This is pretty well done over here. It's okay if it's got the little kind of squirrely marks from this, because we'll go down to another grit. You want to get rid of all the saw marks, because this is supposed to be your live edge, so it's supposed to look like the bark came off of it, not that it was cut like this. So all of these marks that go straight across all need to come off, and that's why I wanted to get a close-up. Is you want to use the middle of this as much as you can so you don't go through all your discs, but you can put a lot more pressure on the edge and get right into those areas right there. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do right here. Like kind of looking like those saw marks, but you can still kind of see the feint right there. That is now gone over here. So that's what you want this to look like before we switch to the next grit. So we can see the saw marks up there. That's what we started with. Then you end up with these kind of faint marks right here, those long lines. Those are what you want to get rid of, because you'll definitely see those when we burn it. What you want is for it to be one nice and smooth surface like this. But if you look, I can't zoom in any further, but you can see right here's the best example. Those are the swirls that show up, and they're all over here. It's because we're using such a low grit sandpaper on something that spins. So that's gonna happen, and we'll just get rid of that when we sand it down to about 150 grit before we burn it. Warning. Gotcha.
Stop!
Ignore the dog barking. Oh, you can't even see me. Now you can see me. And make it nice and smooth. Okay, so once you've done that, we're gonna burn it. I did not sand this edge right here. This is still really sharp. Like, it's as sharp as you can make wood. And there's a reason for that, and it's the same reason that I haven't sanded any of the top where that groove is. Wait to do that, because when we burn it, the torch that we use is going to burn a bit of the top and a bit of the bottom, and we want to be able to sand that away. And if we've already sanded away the sharp edge and sanded it on a bit of an angle to get rid of this, then we have to sand it even more to get rid of the burn. So the torch that we're using is a map torch, so it's a yellow one. I don't know what that means. It's not propane like the blue one, and I find that this works better than the propane torch because it burns it faster. There's less time for this to burn. Like, as soon as a flame touches it, it's burnt. That's why I use this. You can also use the blue torch, which is, like I said, propane. Either way, be careful with fire if you're going to use it, and store it all right. I take no responsibility for anything you do. So I made a small mistake, and that would be right there where I pointed at the little round marks that I saw, and I said you gotta sand those off. They are still there, and I didn't look close enough when I was sanding with the smoother stuff to go back and sand this off and then burn it again. But if you look at it, it was a pretty clean burn. It didn't go over onto the top too much, but you can see that there's that little brown tinge, so obviously it was burned. When we sand that off, it'll look like this is a different color than this. So what it kind of does is it looks like it was live edge, but the bark's already been taken off, and I really like the look of it. You can see that this is burnt, and this is the overburn that I was talking about. So this is why we left the top unsanded, because we need to sand that off. Another thing to be not scared of, another thing to watch out for is the fact that this is going to be hot, so don't touch it right away, but also some places worse than others. It ends up really charred and, well, comes off on whatever you wipe it on. So one thing that you're gonna have to do is wipe all of that off with a cloth. I used an old white t-shirt last time I did this. I want to get all of that off before we get sandpaper on it, because you don't want all of that to just get built up on the sandpaper and it'd be a waste of sandpaper. Right here, this is a big gouge where a branch would have been. I'll show you how to fix that if you're using wood that's similar to this, where it's got a bunch of imperfections. Just Gorilla Glue, and you don't have to mix it, or if it's something larger, you might want to use epoxy. I use this epoxy right here. It's Home Hardware's brand epoxy. It works great, and it dries somewhat clear, but also dark, kind of darkens black. Either way, grab yourself some toothpicks and a scrap of wood to mix it with, where it starts to set up. 90-second epoxy. It should be good in an hour is when it's dry. You want to mix it really good, because otherwise it won't set properly. I've had it where it takes days to set up because I didn't mix it long enough as well. Kind of poke it down in there. And sometimes on bigger ones like this, you're gonna have to come back and do a second coat later anyways to build it up to the flat surface. Try to use as much of this as you can. And if you mix extra, there might be some other imperfections you have to seal. I like to do most of them at the same time so that I could get back to working and sanding the piece down. Okay, so we're on day 2 of this build, and we have the top all completely sanded, so that is all smooth. But if you look really close, not quite dark enough. So I've taken and I've wiped all this down with, I'm gonna burn that again just so that it matches this. It'll get darker when we put the tung oil on it. This is what we want to use, especially if you've got a wood like spalted maple where it's really soft and spongy in some parts. So I need to wipe that down again. See, this doesn't sand off the burnt part like sandpaper does, so you're safe to do that and just get rid of all the dust. You don't need to get rid of all of it because the tung oil solidify and hold everything together. And we're ready to apply the tung oil. Like I said, I'm just using an old cotton t-shirt, so just grab a piece. I guess I'll use the sleeve here and just cut it off with a knife or something, because you don't want the whole shirt there. Nice piece like this, and I usually fold it up kind of like that, and I'm going to use the corner here. Dab the tung oil on. You can pour this right on the surface, but what I find is it seeps in too much in the spot that you poured it. We could do that on the next few coats, but not the first one because it absorbs so much. It's going to take a lot of tung oil the first coat, especially with something as spongy as this. Anyways, you're going to want at least one glove because you really don't want this stuff on your skin. I've got it on my skin a whole bunch before, and really the most notable effect is that it just smells like shit, and you don't really want that all over your skin. I'm sure that it's toxic in some way to you over a long period of time too, so you're just safer off using gloves. You know, be safe, keep your skin safe, because you know you kind of need your skin. So one glove, the other one I'm just gonna hold on to the can, put it on like that. And if you are doing this inside, this rag right here, oh, that was zoomed in the entire time. I am so sorry. This rag, you want to take outside and you want to let it fume outside. Lay it flat wherever it is. This finish can spontaneously combust, and a lot of other finishes that do that. So unless you have a dirty rag disposal bin that won't catch on fire, I suggest just taking it outside, laying it flat somewhere that if it did burst into flames, it's not going to catch anything on fire. You can let this sit and dry as long as you want. Like, you can just leave it here and it will all absorb into the wood for the most part, and then it'll be fine. However, I'm just going to wipe it back off now and then let it dry just long enough that we can get those legs put on it. And then we're going to come back and we're going to put these legs on right here. We're going to use a drill and a screwdriver. Okay, so just ignore the washing machine. She just stands there in your way, and you like to walk under things. You're moving a couch, and she just walked around underneath of it. You're a silly goose. You're a silly goose. Okay. To one another, so I'm going to use a straight edge right here, this level, to set these legs up. And I also want them to be perfectly square to one another. This as square as possible. Okay. Other side to match about there. Now we can go ahead and drill our pilot holes. Snug them up with the impact driver. You can't just drive a screw into these like you could if it was a 2x4 made out of spruce wood that's really soft. This wood will crack and split, and it'll shear off the heads of the screws depending on the type of screws you use. It'll just make a mess. So I'm making sure to line this up with the lines that we've drawn on with the pencil or pen or whatever you've used. Okay, well, that is done. Time to... Look, two legs in here. Okay. Alright, there we go, all nice and trimmed up. Pictures of it here once I get the rest of this room cleaned up. I gotta do the rest of that, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys learned something new, maybe had some ideas or just want to be creative. But I want to give a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for supporting me throughout creating this, throughout my move, throughout the lack of videos over the last month or so. I really do appreciate all of you sticking with me, and if any of you want to help support the things that I do or the videos that I create, Patreon is probably the best way to do so. It's a subscription-based platform where you can pledge a certain amount of money a month, whatever amount you'd like, whether it's $1, $2, or $5, or whatever have you. You can subscribe and pledge that monthly to me to help me keep creating these videos, and it really, really does help me out with buying the materials for these projects, with paying for the rent here that I have to pay to have this studio and my room, and I truly do appreciate all of that help. So thank you so much. A huge thank you to the top tier Patreon supporters, Randy, Robin Bird, and Mike Maxwell. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please share this video with a friend. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a big old thumbs up. We'll see you guys all next time. Peace out. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to have one vlog a week, one DIY video a week, so look forward to that. And with that, goodbye.
Guys, guys, I'm stuck in the wall.
Am I in the shot? Do you need me to move?
Now you are.
What the?
I'm stuck in the wall.